Recht herzlich guten Morgen, good morning everybody. My name is Charlie Suter and I'm from PostFinance, and we start now with the webinar about how to sell to Chinese consumer online. Who is talking to you? Who is your host today? We have Rocky Fu here. He is a director on digital strategies and Incitez. From Singapore. He flew into Zurich on Monday. That's a very actual picture from Zurich you can see here. And my name, as I said already, is Charlie Suter, Market Manager from PostFinance. First of all, I would like to thank you for attending this webinar, and just or thing from the organization part. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to write down the questions in the question field. We will answer them directly if possible, or later on after the presentation of Rocky Fu. Now it's time to start. I pass over the microphone to Rocky, and we start with his presentation.
Thank you, Charlie. Hello, everyone. My name is Rocky, as introduced by Charlie. I'm the Director of Digital Strategies. In my past experience, I have been managing APAC campaigns, including Greater China. And Incitez is a digital consultancy company as well as digital campaign management. So today, I'm gonna briefly introduce China online shopping, starting with an overview of China online retail market, and I will give you some idea about the demographic picture of Chinese online shoppers. In the last part of today's webinar, I will share some recommendations for companies and businesses who are interested in the Chinese market. Most of the data you will see from ChinaInternetWatch.com, which is part of our company. And you can get more data here, and also you can subscribe with this link. It's free. Okay, let's take a look at online retail market overview in China. As you all know, China is a very huge market with almost 600 million internet users, and the retail market online produced over 190 billion in 2012 sales, and is still growing very rapidly with 120% annual growth since 2003. As you can see from this graph, released from McKinsey Global Institute, and we can see the orange line shows the trend of China's growth in the e-tailing market. It's growing very rapidly. And the same report from McKinsey estimated by year 2020, China online sales could reach 650 billion US dollars, which is a combination of US, Japan, Germany, and France markets. So currently, in China, online retail is over 70% of the market is C2C or marketplace based. But in the US, it's very different. It's about 23 to 24%. As you can see in this chart created by CIW, we categorize the overall online retail market to C2C and the B2C markets, where C2C markets represented by Taobao.com, where many consumers can go there and buy from other consumers, and B2C platforms are represented by Jingdong.com. We can see actual majority is C2C. However, B2C market is growing also more rapidly than the C2C market. Here's another comparison between the Chinese market and the US online market. As we can see, the e-tailing market revenue is roughly the same. It's very close. China is catching up very quickly, and the percentage of the retail is both about 5%. And there's a huge difference in the marketplace share of e-tailing. In China, it's 90%. Now it's less, as the research was conducted in 2011, but it's still a lot more than the B2C markets compared with United States. Another thing you should notice is the mobile commerce share of e-tailing, as indicated by the red circle. It's only about 2%, while in US it's 5%. We believe this is changing very rapidly as mobile internet is growing very fast, and more people have low-cost smartphones. And this is a very interesting slide from McKinsey again, and with some research into Tier 1 to Tier 4 cities. As we all know, the salaries earned by online shoppers are quite different across different cities. The lower the tier, the less salary people make. However, the wallet share directed to e-tailing is a lot more in Tier 4 cities who make less money. For those who are not familiar with wallet share is a share of the percentage of disposable income to online. And the reason that the Tier 4 cities have more percentage of disposable income is because in less developed cities like Tier 4 cities, there's less product to choose from. And the retail market is not really well set up as the Tier 1 cities such as Beijing and Shanghai. So people have less to choose from if they go out and visit the shopping centers. There's probably not much shopping centers around them, and also the product variety is very limited. Instead, they can go online and choose any product they want. So that's why many people chose to shop online in Tier 4 cities. The data here basically give you some overview about China's online marketplace in e-shopping and versus the United States. We can see the independent B2C in China is 360buy, which is renamed to JD.com, and Amazon and Suning, while marketplace is represented by Taobao, Tmall, and Paipai. And for online advertising, Baidu is the number one, and followed by Taobao and Google. For delivery, there are actually a lot more than the two shown here. One is state-owned EMS, the other is SF Express, which has a much better brand reputation in China. And for the payment, Alipay is no doubt the number one payment method for online shoppers to choose from. Here is latest data from CIW showing a market share of some independent sales B2C shopping websites. So the number one is Jingdong. If you're interested, you can go and check out JD.com. Followed by Suning, Amazon, Yixun, VIP Shop, and etc. You probably don't know most of those brand names in China. And one thing you may not realize is in China, compared with the US, most of those platforms don't really have a presence offline, such as Jingdong. While in US, if you dig out the data, if you find out that in the top online platforms, and most of them have a presence offline. That's the difference in the Chinese market. If you are paying attention to the China online retailing market, Taobao is a website you should probably know. They have over 6 million e-merchants. listing different and very wide variety of products on the platform. Here example of a search on Swiss, and you can see the Swiss kind of product, bags, watches, knives, and etc. So you can probably find anything on Taobao.com, and not necessarily available in China, even some not available in China. There are some products from overseas. You can find it here, and there are people making money from sending the product over to the Chinese consumers. So on Taobao, there's something very important you should know, that so who are the merchants listing product on Taobao? One is the brands who exist on offline and who want to extend their sales to online shoppers, and also with a growing trend in China, it's one part they cannot ignore. Such as there's many brands like Lenovo or Haier. They have offline stores or some retail chain and sales distribution channel, but they must get listed online and develop their online shopping strategies. So only for the online market. And that's the one part of the Taobao e-merchants. And next part is very important, it's Taobao brands. Taobao brands are those brands developed from Taobao and actually only exist on Taobao. So if you compare these two, Taobao brands actually have a little bit more market share in the top e-merchants by revenue. So if you rank all the top merchants on Taobao, and there's about a bit over half of them are actually Taobao brands. Those brands only exist on Taobao. I will briefly share a quick case study after this. And there's other sellers or e-merchants on Taobao who don't really have a brand name, mainly competing with a low price. So it's very surprising for many people that those Taobao brands did very well. So how did they do very well? So according to our research, there are 3 lessons you could learn from them. So one is they're utilizing very highly targeted marketing campaigns. Instead of reaching to mass consumers and you don't know whether they fit your target audience profile. And the product they're offering have very attractive quality as well as price. So here's a quick case study on a skincare brand on Taobao. They started on Taobao and only exist on Taobao. The amazing story about them is not long after they started on Taobao, they started making about 2 million RMB per month in revenue. And after only 6 months, they grow their revenue to 20 million per month. So it's very surprising to many people, but this is not the only story on Taobao. So it's amazing marketplace for many businesses. It's one platform you should definitely consider for your online retailing strategy. This chart basically reviews how the e-merchants spend their money online. And one important part I want to highlight is the percentage of revenue spent on online marketing. It's about 46%. And those marketing services cost about 19%. This chart shows a top 10 China online advertising enterprises revenue. As you can see, the top one is Baidu, followed by Taobao. Taobao is just one website, while Baidu's revenue came from search as well as online content network or display ads. But Taobao, the website itself, they allows advertising such as search, also display ads, and they made a lot of money from that. So one very important part of your online marketing strategy for the Chinese market is to understand what are the payment terms you should provide for your target audience in China. So Alipay is one we strongly recommend, as most of them use Alipay on Taobao or other websites. And the reason being is very safe and not only technically but also psychologically. And the reason is for Alipay, the system works like this. So when the consumers wants to purchase the item, they pay through Alipay, and then they will wait to receive the item. But at the same time, the e-merchant, they do not receive the money, and the money is still with Alipay. So only when the consumer receive the product and then confirm they're happy with what they have received, then Alipay will transfer that money to the e-merchant. So in a way, it's very safe for online shoppers. And they're very comfortable using this Alipay to make a payment for online shopping. That's an overview for China online shopping market. And let's take a look at some demographic profile of the Chinese online shoppers. Yes, they're very young, as the top 2 online shopper ad group by age is between 18 to 30 years old. And there are actually more middle-aged and elderly people making shopping online as well. But you should know majority of those are those young people. There's a slightly more male shoppers than female shoppers online. However, in reality, there's more male than female, a lot more. So with this percentage, which actually means there are more female shoppers, relatively speaking. The education level is much higher than the average China internet users. If you combine those people with a bachelor's degree or above, it's higher than 50%. So about more than half of those online shoppers, they have received university's education with either bachelor's degree or master's degree. So here's some data on the online shoppers' income. We can see that for people making over 5,000 a month, it's only about 13%. And to give you some idea about how much this money really means in China, in Tier 1 cities, this amount of money is okay for make a living. However, in lower tier cities, this money quite well. And for between 3,000 to 5,000, it's a little bit difficult, but enough for people to live in Tier 1 cities, because the cost of living there is very high. And for university graduates, they roughly make between 3,000 to 5,000. As we can see, on average, those people have low income, but in China, some people, actually many of them, have hidden income, so it's probably not shown on the research. And another reason being, in China, some people, they actually, for tax or whatever other reason is, the actual income being reported is different from the actual income they make. But Chinese online shoppers shop very frequently online. As we can see, there are even almost 10% of them shop more than 40 times a year. Some people are actually very addicted to online shopping, such as some female online shoppers. When they don't really have much things to do, they just go to Taobao and browse through different product categories. So how much are the Chinese online shoppers spend online? This is a little bit outdated, but can give you some idea how much money they will spend. And as we can see, the top two groups by shoppers' total cost is between 3,000 to 10,000. So if you're selling something quite expensive, it might not be easy to sell online. So why are Chinese online users shopping online? The number one reason is cheaper. The product online is cheaper and it's convenient and with quick delivery. So these are the things you should keep in mind when you develop your online retail strategy for your product if you expect to penetrate into the Chinese online shopping market. So when people shop online, the brand, pricing, and the categories and quality matters most, followed by brand credibility. And there are still some people, online shopper, about 50% of total China online internet users. And among them, there are some people who do not shop. So the number one reason is some people are more traditional and worried about the quality of the product they purchase online, and some feel insecure about the credibility of the website. And in some provinces, logistics will be very slow. So this is a recent survey done by a research company called iResearch. It basically tells that the China on the go mobile user prefer SMS for order tracking of online shopping. So if you want to provide some good user experience, this should be something you can consider. Mobile is still low in terms of percentage of the total online shopping revenue, but it's really growing very rapidly. So that's why when you develop an online shopping strategy, you should consider about, for example, whether or not you should make your website mobile friendly or fully responsive. And this is quite different in China than some other countries. In most situations, shoppers who buy more frequently in a category also tend to buy more brands in that category. So if you want to talk about or focus on brand loyalty, it's not really a good strategy in China. You probably want to keep reaching more China internet users and online shoppers to buy your brand instead of sticking to the existing online shoppers, because they never stick with one brand. They tend to buy more brands in most of the categories. So now you have some understanding about the Chinese online shopping market, and I will share some recommendations here. It's pretty much simplified, so you can get started very quickly. And most importantly, you should conduct some research and analysis of the market, as well as your own product. So what you can do is you can do a SWOT analysis, understanding the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat of your product. However, let me remind you that you should probably do this centered around the target audience instead of making assumptions what you think your strength is, what you think your weakness is. And you should probably do some online research and find out what your target audience think of your product, and also with the market competitions, and you should understand what your unique selling point really is in the eyes of your target audience. And after you're collecting all the data from the research or survey you conduct online and maybe offline as well, you can develop an online strategy. Online strategy is a little bit complicated. Sometimes takes weeks to complete. And I will just simplify this to 3 parts. You should understand what platform you want to adopt or create for your online shoppers, and what kind of payment methods do you want to make it available to your target audience. And the last one is what kind of marketing channels you can adopt to reach and engage your online shoppers. And this is a very important advice for most companies. Your price should be probably lower than the offline prices. So you should find out for a similar product offline what the price is about, and you should provide some discount online. They should not be the same price as China internet users. They always look for discount, and they do expect the price to be lower online. Otherwise, they think they should probably go offline and they can touch and feel the real product. So continue from the previous recommendations. Here's some more things you should notice. Is the online shop design and usability is very important. You should not just get started and rush to finish your shop design. It's very important not only from the user's comfortability but also the usability, how the user experience on your online shops. And you should make the conversions easier, and also keep tracking your online conversions with maybe several designs, so you find out which designs works better for yours. And the pricing strategy is also very important. And you could be maybe just a few dollars more expensive than a competitor without showing any other unique selling point. Then you may probably lose a lot of online shoppers and the revenue. So think about the service you're going to provide. It's quite complicated. If you want to target Chinese online shoppers, and online chat service is probably very important for you, as being adopted by many companies and many platforms. For some Chinese shoppers, they want to have an immediate conversation with you about some questions. Otherwise, you probably will lose those customers. And also on marketing side, you should get yourself found easily. And search engine is one of the best ways you can try. Among other things, delivery is very important, and Chinese online shoppers expect rapid delivery. Otherwise, if you're on Taobao or other marketplace, people will provide a lower rank for your service, and you could get yourself in trouble. So this is a screen capture of the most popular Chinese search engine, Baidu. As we can see, this is a search results page on Zurich tickets, air tickets, and you can see there's some listings here. And of course, there's 2 parts of search engine marketing. One side is pay search, or PPC, where you pay for every click incurred on your search result. And the other one is organic search, or often referred as search engine optimization, SEO, which you can get traffic for free, but it takes time to optimize and be ranked on the first page of the relevant keyword terms. But those are very targeted, as Chinese consumers are looking for the information you can provide. This is more lower tier search engine with much less market share. However, there are more and more international companies utilizing this search engine. There are two reasons. One is on Sogou, which is part of Sohu. It costs you, in most cases, less per click because of, for the most obvious reason, the competition. There's less competition on Sogou, so you pay less per click. And in total, you can generate more traffic and conversions with the same amount of revenue. And on this search engine, it penetrates into more lower tier cities as well. So depending on your budget as well as your target audience, you should pick the search engine wisely. So other than the search engine, there's other social media channels you can reach Chinese online shoppers. And here's one of them, which is very hot and very popular in China. It's called Weibo, the Chinese microblog. So it's a little bit similar to Twitter, but it's a lot different. And you can go to weibo.com and maybe register an account. If you have some problem reading in Chinese, you can install a Google Translate toolbar to just get some feeling about this account. But ideally, you should develop a Weibo strategy for this whole account, as well as some content strategies, what kind of content you should keep creating and engage those target audience. So overall, content is very important. Your content should not only be targeted, it should be also quite creative. Of course, you cannot be creative all the time, but you should at least sometimes try. And targeted content is something you must have. And with targeted content, you can distribute it across your own Weibo account once you have certain amount of Weibo fans, and also to the influencers, as well as some media accounts. And there's also some grassroots account which not owned by a certain company. At least it doesn't look like it's owned by a company, but only by some individuals. And you can have a discussion with them. If it's relevant, if the followers of those accounts are similar to your target audience, you can discuss with them and distribute their content. Your content should be engaging enough. If you produce a lot of content and no one comments, no one reposts your content, and no one likes your content, so your content is not engaging and is useless. From time to time, you should also develop Weibo campaigns in this channel. But before you do that, you should identify your goal first. So I can share with you some of the popular campaign objectives. For example, at the very beginning of setting up a Weibo account, it's very important to identify who are your target audiences. So the objective is to generate enough fans. So building a fan base is a primary goal. And when you have more and more fans, you should have engagement campaigns. You could also have fans for promoting a certain product. A few other social media channels you can utilize reaching the Chinese market. For example, there's wiki-style websites. The most popular one is the Baidu Wiki, where you can engage and integrate your content onto this website so that you can also get found. And in addition, you could have more brand influence in online users. Q&A website is one I recommend if you don't have enough resources for other channels. Basically, it's a still very popular platform in China. People ask and answer questions, and also people looking for answers, they could find out answers who previously answered, and then they just read about it. Other sites include doc sharing websites like the SlideShare in the West, and in China, the Baidu Wenku is very popular, and people just upload and share content. And these three, the last column you can see on the slide, are very well-known countrywide forums. These are very big. If you target certain regions or areas, you should probably do some research and find out some local forums. And last but not least, online PR campaigns could also be very useful, as an online news website can influence the users in a very positive way. So having some newsworthy content distributed through some online news website could help you. Thank you very much, and I will pass to Charlie.
Thank you, Rocky, for this presentation. So far, we didn't get questions, but as long as no questions are arriving, I do have some questions for you, Rocky. If I'm a Swiss or a German company successful in my home market, can I open a store in for example English and then sell directly to Chinese customer, or what would you recommend for them?
Okay, it's actually a very good question. I got asked about this many times before. So there are some brands wondering whether they can just utilize their current English website to penetrate into the Chinese one, online users. And the question is, you probably cannot because of the language barriers. There are many people who can read in English. There are many people now. However, they are not comfortable reading in English, and they may be wondering who you are, where you come from. So not only the language issue, but also the credibility. And also, you probably want to reach users through search engines. And even people who can read very well in English, they search in Chinese. So the first thing you should do is to have a website. A digital asset will be very helpful reaching the Chinese consumers through organic search, which you can get the traffic without spending any dollars. But also, of course, it will cost you some money to optimize the website. And it doesn't have to be necessarily very complex website. You could just set up a landing page. We worked with some brands previously. We just help them to set up one or two landing pages to tell enough story and show enough credibility for them to for the user to make a conversion online. So you need to have a website.
Thank you, Rocky. So we learned we need a website. We need it in English, and especially also in Chinese to have this credibility. What do you think is if it's a foreign company, do they have any advantage because they are foreign, or do people nowadays also trust well in local in local Chinese brands, or what do you think is should you name your company in China different for selling the goods in a Chinese name, or should it be in a Western style as it is before?
That's a very good question. Many companies face this problem. If you're a foreign brand, I recommend you should let people know you are a foreign brand, depending where you are from. And it could add actual credibility to your brand. For example, if you're from Switzerland, it's a very strong brand in China, and people really trust the things being produced from Switzerland. And having said that, you should still have a Chinese name. Otherwise, if it's in German or other language, people find it very difficult to pronounce, or not to mention you want them to remember your brand. Otherwise, when it comes to a purchase decision, they cannot even remember your name. How do you want them to make a purchase on your website or other platform? So preferably or ideally, you should have a Chinese name. And also, if your brand originates from a foreign country, you should let them know. And if you produce a product in overseas markets like Switzerland, you should also let them know. The shoppers are getting smarter, and some of them know there are products from foreign brand but not really produced from foreign countries. So whatever your advantages, you should analyze fully and let them know.
Thank you, Rocky. And there are some questions now. There is one from Marco. He wants to ask this by email, of course. Write an email to aussenhandel@postfinance.ch. aussenhandel@postfinance.ch. We pass it on to Rocky, and he will then answer this question later on. There is another question coming from Heiner. Hi Rocky, how do I get .cn website? Where to order a website? Where to order a URL, a Chinese URL, Rocky?
Well, .cn website is available for registration. Actually, you can just do a search online, depending on whether or not you have a company or friend in China. If not, you can register to other companies, which of course will be a lot more expensive than those people in China who wants to register a .cn domain for their business.
Do you have to be local in China to register a local URL, or can everybody buy one?
If I remember correctly, if the policy hasn't changed, because previously the policy changed quite a few times. In some time ago, they even disabled the registration for personal use. So if you are an individual in China and you are Chinese, you cannot register for a .cn domain. And some time ago, they again opened registration for personal use as well. So if they didn't change anything, you should be a local to register a .cn. However, if you do a search such as .cn domain registration online, you can find some providers who probably act as an agent who will help you with the registrations, but will cost you a lot more money.
Thank you, Rocky, for this answer. Now we come to the end of this webinar. Our time is running shortly out. Thank you again, Rocky, very much for your presentation. And in short time, we will have this presentation or this webinar as a review online on our website. I'll just try to show it to you. It will be on aussenhandel.postfinance.ch. There you can watch it again, this webinar, share it with your friends or colleagues, and also attend to other webinars which are shortly presented. Some are in German, some are in English, and we are looking forward also to do some in French or Italian language. Many thanks for your time attending this webinar. It was a pleasure for us to talk to you, and we hope you liked it. And if you would answer the questionnaire afterwards, after this webinar, it would also help to make it even more better for you. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.